If you want to feel like this is family, like you could sit around in your underwear and fart and nothing matters.
Fart?
Although we did talk about how farting in relationships may be problematic. So I'll scratch that.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you today?
Doing good. Feeling relaxed.
Yes, because it's Collar Day. We love Collar Day.
It is. It's a relaxing part of our episodic series.
I mean, I actually do feel that way. We get to know some shandies. We don't have to read any books in anticipation. It's just very like in the moment.
Yeah.
So we are joined today by a lovely caller named Nina. Nina, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Nina.
Thank you for having me.
Do you mind giving us your age, the age of the person in question, and from what I recall, there was a person in question, your city or region, whatever you're comfortable sharing, and your story, please.
Yes. So I am 34 and I live in New York City, and the person in question is 36.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. Based on your accent, just from when we were chatting earlier, I did not think you were going to say New York City.
Yeah. Are you from New York City?
I'm from Connecticut. So in like an hour outside the city.
For some reason, I thought she sounded Canadian. I don't know why I thought
Canadian?
that. I don't know why I
love Canadians. My best friend is Canadian. So like I spent a decent amount of time with her. So maybe I picked up some of the,
it's rubbing off.
Whatever it is, the intonation.
Yeah. All right, Nina. So you're 34. The guy's 36. You're in New York City. Let's hear what's going on.
So I believe when I wrote in, the situation has evolved a bit since I first wrote in. So hopefully that's okay.
That's fine.
So then I started seeing this guy in, it was actually, I think it was back in November. So it's been a few months. And I initially sort of entered into it. It was someone I met on the dating apps. I initially entered into it thinking that he would it would be a casual thing. So like right now I work full time and I'm in school full time. So then it's just like my schedule's a little crazy. So I don't have like a ton of time for dating. And I kind of wanted, like I entered the program being like, I'm not going to like focus on dating while I'm in it. So I just wanted kind of like a casual person to kind of pass the time with. I saw him on the dating apps. He had like, I guess the first red flags were like, like in his dating profile where he was basically said he was figuring out his dating goals, and he like, you shouldn't have any expectations if you're going to go out with him. So like,
nice. It's a good sell.
Start with the cow.
Try our dishwashing solution. Your dishes will be dirty, but it's nice.
It's worth a try.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is perfect. Like I thought he was pretty hot. And like he had this thing being like, I'm not looking for anything serious. And I was like, okay, I'm looking for something like casual too, that I'm just trying to pass time with. So we had our first date, and he had just moved from LA like maybe a month before. So it was pretty early on in his time in New York. So New York hadn't corrupted him yet. There was like a real like connection, like kind of like right off the bat. We like really just vibed very well. And I think like but I wasn't, even after like the first date and the second date, I just thought it was a casual thing. So like I wasn't hearing from him afterwards. And I initially thought like, okay, that means like he's not into me, and we won't go out again, and that's fine. But then when it like kind of approached the weekend every week, like he would reach back out, and I'd be like, oh, that's like, you usually like expect to hear from someone the day after a first date or the day, like, and just to say that you had a good time. But when I didn't hear from him, I was like, okay, I guess that's it. And and like there were just like always like breaks, like where like I just like wouldn't hear from him for days on end. And I initially I didn't care at first, but then I would say around date 3, I started like we spent more time together, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this guy. Like I'm gonna have to be a little careful. And and then he ended up inviting me to his family owns a house in Hudson. So we ended up going and visiting his family's home up there. His family was not there. It was just like the two of us. And we ended up doing like sort of a weekend up there for our 4th date, which was like pretty, like, I don't know. I think like just that kind of invite, like it surprised me first, because like I thought this was just sort of like a casual thing. And then, and it seemed like sort of like an intimate, I don't know, invite. So we went to Hudson, and I started to like him at that point. So I was like, okay, like, just like be careful. And I like, my guard was kind of up. And at some point, like during the weekend, I mean, he admitted that like, he wasn't like sleeping with other people. And he also said that he was talking about his time in LA and like one of the reasons why he moved to New York. And he said, I just like, I wasn't finding a girlfriend in LA, and I just like, wasn't having a lot of luck out there. I figured, I would like move back to New York and see if I have like a better chance at like finding a girlfriend. And I was like talking about how disillusioned I am with New York dating.
Well,
And
him saying that doesn't sound like he doesn't know his dating goals.
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
sounds like all he cares about is his dating
He
goals.
moved across the country for his dating goals.
Yeah.
Totally.
According to what he told you anyway. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. I like also that he admitted he's not sleeping with anybody. It's a funny thing to admit. All right.
Well, I mean, in today's climate, that's actually, yeah. Wait, I have questions, but continue. Get to the end of the story and then we're going to dive in and sleuth.
Okay. So then he ends up saying he was like, I've just been here for like a few weeks now, but like I already feel like I could probably find a girlfriend in New York, and I was like, I don't know.
What?
Like, I was like, you haven't been in, and he was just like, yeah, like I met you after a month. And we have more of a connection than I felt in like 11 years in LA. And I was just like surprised to hear that. Like, I think like, I was like, oh wait, like he likes me too. And so I was a little surprised by that statement. And then, it was just like a really intimate, like romantic weekend. And then, so then we came back. And like, once again, I like didn't hear from him for like a while, but then I think at this point I had resolved to like that, like he just didn't text, like he's not like a texter, which is fine. Like I don't mind that at all, but it is a little confusing because a lot of times like in early dating, the cues are from like texting. So I was having a harder time like reading the situation because it felt like every time we were apart, then like, then I was like, oh, I guess he doesn't like me. And then like when we were together, I would feel like he was very much invested and like seemed very present and seemed really happy to be there and felt like he was kind of like nurturing like our connection. And he had made some comments about like not wanting like Apple to control him and just like like hating like tech and he's never like on his phone. Like he's not one of those people that's like checking his phone a lot. Like his phone is always away when we're talking and he also like always has his notifications off, like permanently. I'd sort of like taken the no texting as like, okay, this is just like a weird quirk of his, and he seems to be invested, and I'm just going to like read him like based on his actions, like when we're like asking me out and kind of like trying to progress the relationships. So I think that's like that Hudson date was like where things started to like misalign. But we ended up having a few more dates. He went away for the holidays and was gone for like a full month. We texted like maybe twice just to wish each other like Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And that was it. But he got me, when he got back, like I had gotten him a gift. I had got him like Nietzsche socks and then he had gotten me a book of poems. So it was like very like, I don't know.
Highbrow.
We are like a little obnoxiously like highbrow. Like a book of poems feels like a romantic gift, like too. Also, so then like I don't know, it felt like he like cared about me. It felt like he cared about the relationship. The emotional connection was just like very strong the whole time. But then like a few dates go by where it feels like the lack of communication is even worse than normal. Like I had asked a direct question and he took like 3 days to respond to it. And I was like, that's not okay. And yeah. And then there was like another date where he like, just like didn't reach out for like 10 days straight. And I was like, okay, this is like worse than usual. So I started to get like a little pissed. And then, and I was making that clear in like passive aggressive ways. And
nice.
then,
always a good strategy. Always good.
So we had a date where he like planned like it was date night at the Met, and like we went there, and then we went to like some place for like restaurant week afterwards, and like I knew that we were going to have a conversation that date. It felt like it was like kind of bubbling up to the top, the sort of tension about like kind of the disconnect, and we were both like just like drinking heavily, like and it was like clear that like because I think he's not great about communicating, and I felt very hesitant to like be really direct with him because I did really like him, and like I do really like him, and like I'm also like a little disillusioned from like dating in New York, where like I actually like the last few people I've dated, like anytime the first time I brought up anything like negative or like any sort of like conflict or something that I had an issue with, almost immediately like they either like ended it or kind of
faded.
It just like they faded out after that, or they like that seemed to be like the turning point where they lost interest.
Okay, so you did though bring it to a head, right? You did say you're not that communicative via text.
I think what I pointed out the silence. I said like like I said something about like, yeah, I figured I think I got the answer from like not hearing from you for 4 days or something. I said something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
good.
Good passive aggression.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good classy passive aggression.
And how did he respond to that?
The thing is, he didn't respond over text because he's very like minimalistic in like the way he texts. So it's like, he didn't even like engage with it. But then the next date was when we were supposed to see each other, and we were both. Oh, he had showed up to the next date like pretty high, and like that was another thing. So then like he was like, we were going to a movie, but we were gonna have dinner before, and he came to the date like and had like clearly had just smoked, and I was like, I'm not gonna have a serious conversation with you when you're like clearly a bit high, and I don't know, and so we didn't end up like talking about it that night. The next date, that's where we had the big, very drunken conversation, and it got, and I finally brought up, like, I think I just said like, hey, so like, what's your, because like I worked with my therapist actually in terms of like how to bring it up like in a non-confrontational way that wouldn't like spook him, because I'm like paranoid now. And
she's like, first get totally wasted, then go back to your place, get more drunk, and then bring it up.
She had some kind of term for like the type of question I should use. Instead of being like, I have a problem with this, I should ask like kind of like, what is your approach to texting? Or like, what is your like, and so then I ended up saying like, how do you handle conflict? And I asked him that, and he was like, oh, I think I handle conflict okay. Like, I think I'm not super defensive. And I was like, okay, that's good to hear. And then I was like, look, we have to get better about communicating. And then that's kind of when it like opened up, and he comes off like right off the bat and says, look, I'm like not really looking for a girlfriend right now. He was putting a lot of effort into our dates also. So then like, I don't know, I was almost like a little surprised to hear that. Like I thought it was going to be more like, let's like talk about the communication thing. And I thought it was going to be a conversation about the communication. So then I was a little caught off guard when he was like, no, I'm just not looking for something.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole conversation, it was very messy. I told him that I'm not willing to do something casual with him because like my feelings are like too strong at this point. And so I like kind of just like put my foot down, and I'm like, I'm not willing to go there. So then like we just ended here then, because like I just like I think I like you too much to do something casual with you. And I was like if we're gonna keep seeing each other, like there has to be some intention of it being like getting more serious. And after that he said that like, I think that I feel a lot better now that I talked about it. I feel like I'm like not holding a secret from you anymore. So I actually think I'm okay with like continuing and like seeing if there's something serious here.
Wait, he said that?
No.
He said that?
Nope.
Wait, so he said after how this went.
No. Just no.
Wait, oh my God. Let her finish. Let her finish.
No, right. But okay, there's one more piece that like is confusing though, because so we agreed to keep seeing each other, but just to go slow. That was like the
Oh, it's going to be slow, all right.
Oh, jeez. For the next date, he ends up, he's better about texting during the week. He actually does like text more so than like, and then that was another thing, because I was like, oh, he was like withholding this whole time. And that makes me like think differently of him, like in terms of the texting piece. Like, I think that was like something to keep some distance. So then he was like a little better about communicating during the week. And then he proposed like for the weekend that we do like a spa package, like hotel weekend at like the William Vale, which you guys probably know. It's like a nice hotel in Brooklyn. And
Williamsburg.
It's like,
I think The Bachelor also filmed there. They had a rose ceremony at the William Vale. Yeah, it's quite the staycation.
Yeah, he and it was a pretty sweet room. There was like a beautiful balcony. Like it was just like he put a ton of effort and money into that date, and the whole thing was really nice. And then he made some comment about how like he's really glad that he moved from LA, and it feels like it's like he was like, I feel like it was like really worth it. And right now he doesn't have a job, and he's like looking for like work right now, and he's like in this weird in between phase in his life. So I think that's part of the reason why he said that he didn't want a relationship initially, because like he felt like he's in like this like unstable part of his life.
Sorry, I just want you to be really specific. That's what you think he meant then, or that's what he said?
So that's okay. So that's the thing. Yeah. So he didn't say that, but like he came over and he said like it was really worth it. Like looks straight at me and then like kisses me, and then so it's like one of those like things where, but he didn't say it was about me, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad you moved too.
It feels connected based on the context.
Yeah, I think you can assume.
Maybe.
Some connection.
Okay. All right. So is that where we are now? So you're still dating, taking things very slow.
We're still dating, taking things slow. I think like my rational mind is like, look, like this guy's like not meeting the bar, like in terms of communication, in terms of like sort of what he's saying he's looking for on paper. Like, like my mind is just like, this is not like, this is a bad idea. Like, you know, you should run. And my gut is like, no, chill, like this is safe. He's not that type of guy. And like, you just like need to give him a little bit of like time, but like, he's a good person.
Okay. So total time, what are we talking? 4 months?
Yes, but he was away for a month.
All right. So
Where was he away?
He was in Santa Fe visiting family.
No, I'm saying why. Oh, visiting family.
Yeah,
That's why is what I meant to ask.
And
for the holidays.
And how many dates are we talking, or like how many times do you see him a week?
I see him. I only see him once a week, but then we spend the entire next day together too. Like, so we'll like have a night, and then like, and it's always like Friday or Saturday. So then
she knows what you're gonna ask, Andy. It's on the weekend.
Nice.
Okay.
Is he American?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, how is the physical aspect of your relationship?
It's great.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was worried about.
Oh, geez.
But I'm thinking it might be you said it was your gut, but I have a feeling it's close to your gut, but not fully your gut that's driving you.
Yeah. My other question, just from what I recall about your email, you led really with this guy hates big tech and therefore is bad at texting. But I actually feel like that's only a small piece of this.
That was the big, like, I think when I sent in the email, like that felt like it was the texting thing that was like the main focus. Yeah. But then like, I think I realized after our like confrontation that like, that was like, probably like, just like, he was withholding text the whole time.
The Apple controlling my life is the biggest BS excuse of all. Because it's like, that's a little mixed on that. No. If your coworker texts you at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday, you're like, listen, I'm not letting Apple control my life. When you're with a woman that you really care about and you might want to spend the rest of your life with, you're not like, oh, I don't let Apple control my life.
And if you really care about that woman and she asks you a direct question, you don't take 3 days to respond to that. I'm sorry, especially in the early stages. Like what's that going to look like down the road? I mean, I hope he doesn't listen to this episode. First of all, just so you can brace yourself. Okay. I feel like a lot of your perspectives on these things, like I feel such a polar opposite reaction or takeaway from you. For example, when you said that he said that moving to New York was great. Like, I think I can find a girlfriend here. Look, you know, I've only been here a month and I've met you and we have such a great connection. The wording of that to me does not scream, I want you to be that girlfriend, to me anyway. Right. Although I see why, you know, you seem to be a very analytical person, but at least in the context of this relationship, I find it a little optimistic that you would look at the phrasing of that statement through and through that lens. So the next example I have of that is about the texting. After you addressed it, you said that his communication wasn't that good. And then he improved, which to me would suggest that he actually is making a concerted effort. But then your perception of that was that he had been withholding. And so I actually thought that was a good thing. And then you saw it as sort of a bad thing. This is why I need you to step in.
I see that you shifted, and this is why I always suggest people do this in these situations. You shifted the power dynamic to yourself because you basically said, for all intents and purposes, you said, I'm going to walk. Like, I'm not in, this is not working for me. And I think that scared him straight. And he's like, oh, whoa, I'm going to lose this person. I'm not in control anymore. And then he became more attached, at least for the time being. But I think as soon as that power dynamic evens out again and he maybe gets the upper hand, he's going to start fading again. Because I don't believe that there was any other impetus for him to suddenly change his behavior other than you bringing it to a head and saying, you're going to lose me if you keep doing this. I think he was keeping you in the periphery. He was like, I like this girl. The sex is great. I want to keep her in the files. Like, I don't want to lose it. It's like, keep my just one little claw in there. And I think he was just playing the field. I'm not saying he was like sleeping around. I don't even know if he was fooling around with them. No, what?
You're speaking in past tense.
No, I'm speaking in past tense. Because everything is in the past right now. Yeah. In this very moment, everything's in the past. Okay. I think that he was at the very least going on dates with other people.
Yes, I think so too.
Like significant numbers of dates. I'm not saying he was sleeping around. I'm not even saying he was getting naked with anybody, but I know he was going on a bunch of dates and you were one of his candidates. And he was like, I got her. She's into me. I don't have to worry about this. I can see her once a week. I don't have to text her during the week. I'm good. If I want to pull the trigger on her at some point, I can do it. And then you're like, no, that's not going to happen. You're actually going to lose me now. So make a decision. And he got scared and he started stepping up his game. And I don't like that dynamic in general. I've done it. I've been that guy. I think every guy has done it, honestly.
You've been
almost.
that guy many times.
Yeah. And I know every guy I know has been that guy. Every guy has done that thing. I'm not saying they've done it as calculating maybe as this guy was. And I'm not putting malice on this guy. I think he's probably just a normal, fine guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily
he's not
terrible.
a jerk, this guy. He's just doing normal guy in New York City or big city in America behavior.
In a new place,
it's
all
totally,
these new options.
Totally no evil here. But what I don't like, and I know because I've been this guy and I didn't like my behavior and I knew what I was doing was kind of wrong and you know, opportunistic and selfish, is that he didn't like you enough to say, I want to drop my anchor right here. He was just like, I'm going to sail around and see what happens. And I can always come back to this dock. And I don't think that's a good precedent for a long-term healthy relationship personally, because if the tides was low then and the tide is high now, the tide's going to go back to low again. I almost promise you, unless something wildly dynamic changes in your relationship.
I agree with Andy. It's alarming to me that when you brought up even just the communication.
Right.
I am the poster child of not being attached to my phone. Sometimes I'll check my phone and it's 4 p.m. and it's still on airplane mode from when I fell asleep. Seriously, like I am never on my phone.
Her husband and I'll send her a text like, I need you right now. Hurry up. I need this thing. And like the next day she'll be like, oh, here it is. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, I'm really not good about it. The difference is I'm often working on my computer. So like I will get messages here and there. But what I'm saying is I'm not coming after him for not being attached to his phone 24/7. That's not what this is about. I just think that in the early stages,
you're attached to your phone. That's the way it is. In the early stages of a relationship, you're attached to your phone if you really like the person.
It says a lot to me.
Unless you're seeing them physically every day.
And then the communication thing that you bring this up, which is unrelated to how exclusive you are. And he's like, look, lady, I never said I wanted a girlfriend. You know, that kind of reaction, like that's where he takes that. It's sort of like Mayday, you have any criticism about how I'm functioning in what's not even graduated to a relationship. And then that's where he goes. Like, to me, that's very alarming. And then based on how chill you are about that and how you're like, okay, well, sorry, not sorry, bye-bye. Suddenly he's like, oh, but actually, you're so cool. Let's take it slow.
Well, that's the reason why I asked you about the physical nature of the relationship. Because if there was no goods, if you were like, sex is fine, whatever, we just really like hanging out, I'd be like, oh, this guy may actually really be invested. But the fact that the sex is really good makes me think that there is something that he wants out of this. I think that is a driving force for why he's sticking around. I'm not saying he doesn't like you. I definitely think he likes you. There's no question he likes you. I just want him to be liking you enough that you're the one he wants to put his anchor down with. And I don't think that's what he wants to do. And if you decide to continue with this, which is fine. This is not like a total red flag, like run away.
Yeah.
It's your choice. If you want to do this, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to continue with this, make sure that power dynamic, as soon as it swings back in his favor, you're on guard. Because if you let that happen, I'm telling you, you're going to start to see the same pattern again. So as long as you stay in control from here on in, you might be able to maintain, steady the ship. But why would you want to do that? Why do you want to put that stress on yourself to know that as soon as he feels like he's in control and has the confidence that you're not going anywhere, he can behave however he wants? I don't think that's a good environment to have a relationship in, personally.
Okay, I have one more thing I want to say, and then I swear, Nina, we're going to let you talk. The last thing is, I feel that this far in, I'm not saying that he should necessarily be like, like boyfriend, girlfriend, meet my family, that kind of thing. But it should feel to me more advanced than, oh, we'll take this, we'll see each other once a week and take it day by day kind of thing. I agree with Andy. He's not necessarily horrible. And
no.
I don't know if this is necessarily like I know it probably sounds like we're like, kick him to the curb. I think it's more like you watch and wait to see what happens when things aren't so great, when you do bring up another issue with communication. Or maybe you do feel like, oh, I want to know where this is actually going, like how he reacts to that. Okay, I swear we're going to let you talk now. Sorry.
So I'm wondering if I am being, if I'm like over indexing on the negative stuff, because like, I do feel like there's like a sort of emotional component that I maybe haven't, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just like delusional. That's possible too. But I've dated like a lot in New York. Like I really like I've done my time,
and it feels
like,
special.
It's different. Like it actually just like feels very like there's like it's like so like
horrible,
personal and tender in certain moments. The day before that, like when I brought everything up, like I was pretty upset. Like I was like crying. Like I was like kind of like a bit of a mess, because it was just like not just about him. It was about him and every guy that's come before him, and like and so I was like and I was very drunk and I was like an emotional mess. And he was able to like just, I don't know. I thought he was able to like fully take in all of my like emotion and be really comforting and present and there for me, and like and since then like it's just been like much more like tender, like everything. I don't know if I'm like maybe making it maybe I'm like sort of just like feeling like they're like I don't know if I'm delusional or not. It just feels different. It feels different.
I don't think you're delusional. No. This is definitely, we've seen way worse than this. I mean, this is a gray area. I think this is a proceed with caution situation.
It's personally. Not a like kick him to the curb situation.
No, it's not yet.
I mean, it sounds like there's something worth fighting for here, and that's lovely. And it is hard to find. And, he wouldn't be the first guy in history who almost as a knee-jerk reaction balked at the first sign of conflict, or maybe the first inkling that the woman, wanted commitment and that kind of thing. And the other part of this example is that the first guy that does that, who ultimately does ending up with that woman. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of guys, not all guys, but some guys rather, it's almost like I said, knee jerk. It's almost like, I don't want a girlfriend. Like they're almost expecting this like lightning bolt moment of knowing that based on their personality and their experience is probably never going to happen. And it takes them a while to like warm up. And I think that's possible. I just want you to be paying like full attention to this stuff that I think is kind of working against him right now, because he could be just sort of riding this out. Like that's also very possible, as you know.
I know.
From your dating
I'm worried
experience.
that he's like dangling a carrot. Like I am like kind of like worried that like he's like dangling a carrot and like kind of like being like, okay, here's a possibility that we might be something like in the future. But then like, when it comes down to it, he'll like back out and be like, well, I told you so. Like that's something I'm worried might
the
happen.
loophole. Mm-hmm.
And but like at the same time, like I also think he like respects me a lot and wouldn't do, like I can't see him doing that also. I'm really like, I feel very confused. Like, and I feel like I don't know how to, I guess it is a proceed with caution, but like I'm wondering, I think my question is like sort of like, how do I suss this out? Like how do I like, and is it just kind of like,
I give advice on a sort of a generalized view of men. Like I know what most men are like. And there are many outliers. So this is a general opinion that most men, in my experience, who don't really love a situation at first, like, and I'm not saying you didn't love it, I'm saying it isn't perfect. Like they're kind of playing the field while entertaining the situation. Usually that never permanently gets better. Usually. That's the general rule that I've seen. Okay. That's not to say that minds can't be changed and you could live the rest of your life together and he's like, oh, what was I thinking? Like, I was just so stupid and naive. This is the woman I want to spend my life with. That could happen. I'm just saying the odds suggest that this guy's behavior is going to repeat itself. And maybe that's a fairy tale way of me looking at the world. Like, I feel like when you meet someone you really want to be with, the first 3 months you're like, you're like, the person's like, stop texting me. Like too much texting. That's enough. I can't take it anymore. Like you should be constantly wanting to see that person, constantly want to communicate, thinking about them all the time. You shouldn't be like using semantics like, oh, Apple not controlling my life, or like, oh, what's a relationship anyway? Define that philosophically speaking.
Which a line you have used.
Yeah. I've been confronted with marriage. Like, what do you think about marriage? I'm like, marriage. What is it anyway? Like, who's to define what is, I start turning into like Woody Allen. That's not good. You shouldn't get that uncomfortable about discussions about what you are and what your future looks like when you're really into something. But you're going to see a sign or two in the near future that's going to give you a heads up as to what his future behavior will be. And you need to not sort of interpret that. You need to just take it for face value and act on that. You can't let this drag out forever because he might put you right back on the back burner and just start dating and you won't even know. And he's still not a terrible person. That's not that abnormal behavior.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that, Andy talked about maintaining control, which, I mean, I'm not going to pretend there aren't games in the early stages of dating, but I don't love it when it starts with this kind of like, who has the power? I know.
It's like such a push-pull, like feels like a very like it feels unhealthy. It's like I've been in relationships like this, but then it just doesn't feel like it's like this is like a chronic case of like a guy doing like that just does this like.
But it has only been 4 months minus a month. So there's also that. It's like there hasn't been a lot of time for you to be like, oh, this is chronic.
Right.
Right. I guess that's fair. I guess like when would be like if I sort of add like we had sort of agreed that we'd go slow, but then like what is slow and like what is that even we've already been seeing each other technically 4 months, but for 3 months, like whatever you want to call it. And usually I feel like some sort of like, hey, are you seeing other people? Let's either like see each other exclusively or not. I feel like that conversation is around around now, but like because we sort of established that we're going to go slowly, like when I don't know, when should I pull that card, Andy? I guess like when should I like just be like, hey, like I want to like take this seriously and do this, like I don't have the desire to date other people. Like, do you feel the same way?
I think the card should be pulled now. I don't think there's any reason to wait. 4 months is enough time. You're adults. If you were 21 years old, I'd say whatever. Do whatever you want. Who cares?
What bothers me about even the wording of that is how much of it is based on when should I do it? Like, I feel like you're not spending enough time thinking about when you want to know the answer to that question.
You're all the questions you're asking, you're in a position of weakness.
Yeah.
You're like, I want this. What do I do? How do I get him to do these things? That's not a good dynamic. And that's why I feel like the odds are that this is going to revert. This is very gray zone, but it's leaning towards not good. And I think in that situation, you want to bring it to a head sooner than later.
Yes.
Because what's the doubt? Like, okay, I always say, like, if you're really in love with a girl, like me, if I was really in love with a girl and she brought it to a head, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm out. I'm not into that. I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm in. I'm not going to be scared by that. I'm going to be into that. I'm going to be like, yes, I want that. I want you to say that. I want you to believe that. So you really don't have much downside other than losing a guy who you're going to lose eventually and probably waste another 6 to 12 months of your life and compromise your dating life as well, because you're probably not going to see other people, even though he may be doing that. You don't know.
I just implore you to maybe just listen to your own voice instead of thinking, what would he, where does he stand? I think there's a little too much focus on where he stands and whether or not he likes you. I would like it to be more on, do I like this? He's not that communicative. Like, I like these things, but these things aren't my favorite. And then, I like these things enough where I want to see where this goes. I want to be boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't want to see other people. I want to put the label on it. And then when you feel that way 100%, you bring it up with him. It's going to be scary because you can lose him. But it is a hell of a lot better to find that out after 5 months than.
But also the one time you did do that, the relationship got better. He started acting better. And I'm not saying you're sort of in a catch-22, because you don't want it to be this thing where you have to take charge
where I have to
and threaten leaving for him to step up his game. That's, again, this is why I say proceed with caution, because I don't fully condone this situation.
Right.
I don't like the dynamic where as soon as you let your guard down, probably things are going to get more difficult for you. And as soon as you show strength and you're like, hey, this is how it's going to be, he steps up. And that goes to the argument that if you want to make this continue, I think you should pull a card now, because it worked last time. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you basically did that.
Last time was only a week and a half ago. So then yeah, this is only very recent.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. Like, I'm like, I feel like we just had that conversation. So then I just don't know.
So you've had like 2 dates since
I didn't know that.
Yeah. We've only had 1 date since then.
Oh,
the William Vale date.
That's important.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
that is an epic date.
That's an epic
It was
date.
pretty epic.
Tremendous
It counts as 2.
Okay, that's important information. I'm glad you brought that up. So I would wait a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would always be wary of like the power balance, who's in control, and the idea that in order to be in control, you need to be willing to walk. Because that's where you are right now.
That's stressful, though.
That is
You don't
stressful.
want that. You don't want a relationship where you have to have the guy feel like you're going to leave for him to really want to be in it. Like, that doesn't sound fun to me.
But
That
more
sounds
data
stressful.
needs to be collected
Yeah.
at this point, knowing that it was only a week and a half ago.
Give him like 3 or 4 weeks, I think. Just
Okay.
see how this plays out.
Totally.
You want to be yourself in the relationship. You want to feel like this is family. Like you could sit around in your underwear and fart and nothing matters.
Fart?
Although we did talk about how farting in relationships may be problematic. So I'll scratch that. But
What's a fart?
Yeah, sorry. She doesn't know. She doesn't do that.
Flowers, right?
Yeah.
Flowers,
Oh,
yes!
nice.
Oh, round of applause.
Very
Shandy.
nice. Very
True
nice.
Shandy.
This is a be careful what you wish for situation. Because you may play your cards all right and get him to behave the way you want, but you don't have the real person. It's all a charade. And as soon as you let your guard
Circumstantial.
down, it may fall apart. So this is an unfortunate gray zone. There's no specific like black and white advice here, but proceed with caution for sure. Give it a few weeks at most, and then bring it to a head again.
If you want it, I want you to think more about what you want.
I think she wants it.
I do. I like him like a lot. Like
Yeah,
if I'm being like honest. Like I'm like I
Got a big
feel like
crush.
I think the context is also like it's not like I'm like it's like I'm 34. Like I think like the dating market, especially in New York, is like really rough. Like I think it's like kind of like there's not a lot of
It's
like
brutal.
it's
is
brutal.
brutal.
It's like brutal out there. Like I have like no jokes.
Yeah.
And then like I just feel like the guys that are like left are like just like all a little broken in some way, like which like that's sort of what it feels like, and so it's like I'm like trying to like make the best with like sort of like of what I have, and I'm like, oh, there's a really strong connection here, so like but there's all this other stuff that's like kind of negative, but like good, like good kind of men are like hard to come by, that are ready to commit.
You're sinking on the Titanic. You're in the icy water, and there's a little piece of driftwood, and you're like, "That's the best I'm gonna get." That's it. It's very sad.
What?
It is sad.
How is she sinking on the Titanic?
The dating in New York is like being on the Titanic, and you're in the water, and it's cold, and all you got is this piece of driftwood, and you take that or the icy depths and death.
Well, I think if it's not the right piece of driftwood, you should take the.
Well, then you don't have that much time, or you don't have that much option. You might just drown.
I don't know if I
understand what she's going through.
Yeah, I know, but I still think she's acting like 34 is like 60. And I wasn't single dating at 34 in New York City. So I have a good idea. But I still don't think that should dictate your decision making here. Or how optimistic or unreasonably optimistic you are about certain things because you feel like you're running out of time or whatever.
Yeah, but I empathize, and I know that that's something to consider. That's something that I think can be very stressful, especially nowadays. So I can't fault her for thinking that way.
No.
But I think you should make believe that's not the case, at least for a little while.
Okay, Nina. I'm sorry if that was a downer.
No, I think I needed this. I needed this hit of reality. But
yeah, just consider it. Like I said, it's a dash of reality. I don't want it to be a wet blanket of reality.
You've got hope. There's hope here. This is not a dead patient. It's like it's in the emergency room, but not dead yet.
Emergency room. Okay, Nina, please keep us posted.
Yes,
either way.
I will let you know.
And we love nothing more than being wrong. So if we end up being completely wrong, you can also keep us posted because we would.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
No, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Okay,
thank you so very much for joining us and being a Shandy who knows about air flowers.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Have a good night, Nina.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh my God. That one was, I felt bad about that. Oh, were we too hard on her?
I don't think so.
Or on him? I don't even think he's that bad.
Hard on him.
I don't even think he's that bad a guy.
We didn't say he was a bad guy.
Okay, for me,
I'm afraid for her. I think
afraid for her.
he's got her in a good solid gray zone. And I don't think she needs to be there.
But no, I gotta say that piece of information at the end, and maybe we're the ones that missed the timeline, but when she said that conversation happened a week and a half ago, That's very recent.
Very.
So we now know that she shouldn't bring it up now. And maybe it took her a little longer than it should have to have brought it up in the first place.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a watch and wait situation. I don't want to make it sound like it's definitely.
No, I didn't want to make her think that this was over. I just want her to be cautious because it's got some signs of not going in the right place.
Yeah. To me, the biggest thing is that she's like, we have to talk about, the communication. Like, you don't text. I ask you a direct question, you don't text back for 3 days. I'm not looking for a girlfriend right now. Especially since if that conversation happened a week and a half ago, if we're going to be really brutally honest about numbers here, that means that it was 2.5 months into dating.
Yeah.
4 months total. So 3.5 months into dating. I know he was away for a month. To me, that's enough time, not necessarily to be like, yeah, I'm all in, but like, oh, you're asking me about communication. I will answer about communication and not suddenly be like, I'm out.
I mean, my spidey sense says there's a problem here because I've been there. I've even done the things this guy's done.
Yeah.
Where I felt like I was going to lose a person. I suddenly gave them like this really wonderful date.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I didn't feel that much different than I did before.
Yeah.
I was like, wait. And I'm worried that might be happening here. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and it's, it's sweet that he's organizing these elaborate dates. Like they seem kind of like probably a step up from what she's used to.
Yeah.
But I don't think too much stock. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion. But I've gone on, in my dating days, I've gone on dates with guys where they were like elaborate dates, like thought out, getting drinks there, getting dinner there, seeing a comedy show there, and then going there, like it's like very like thought out. It doesn't necessarily, I think, represent more interest than a guy that's just like, let's meet at this place for
I agree with
dinner.
you. I feel like what she's dealing with here is a puzzle, a bunch of puzzle pieces just sort of thrown on a table, but it's not, the puzzle's not put together. All the pieces are there.
Yeah.
It's like the good dates, the great conversations, the good sex.
Yeah.
But it's not together. It doesn't feel like a cogent operation.
Yes. It's definitely a rocky start. Like if this does end up having, a quote unquote happy ending, I do think it is the exception, not the rule.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it could be the exception, but we're not talking exceptions here.
Yeah.
We're talking general rules.
There was another thing I kind of wanted to touch on. I thought I would thought about it, but early in her story, I kind of wanted to go in the direction of nervous energy.
Yeah.
That's a throwback to our first, an early caller. And maybe she was nervous coming on.
I think she may have been just nervous, but then I got the feeling that maybe she has a slight nervous energy as default, which can convey weakness in a relationship just naturally. It feels like you're kind of like,
you're
trying.
the anxiously attached one.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So I don't know. Well, who knows if that's a dynamic? That's a whole another caller.
Yeah, to be honest though, I don't know based on how that conversation went if we're that far off. Because she does seem to be the more anxiously attached one in this relationship.
Definitely
that's how it would seem, as a layman.
I think she admitted that. I don't think that's subtle.
Totally. But I think both of us early on almost wanted to stop and be like, take a breath.
Yeah, and start again.
There's no rush.
Yeah.
Count to 10, start again kind of thing.
Yeah.
I liked how you said one thing, and then I swear we'll wrap, but you mentioned that you wanted her to look at the evidence straight on and not interpret it.
Right.
I really liked that choice of word for her specifically, because I do feel like she is interpreting a lot.
Yeah.
He said this, which I think meant this. And then he said this, and I think it was talking about that.
Right.
Like how he thinks moving to New York.
She's trying to put the puzzle together.
Yeah, she's trying to put the puzzle together. Totally.
This is puzzle. It's puzzle pieces.
It's puzzle.
This analogy is falling apart.
No,
I gotta admit.
I actually don't think it's a terrible analogy because it does feel like she's piecing things together. There's a lot of code happening.
Yeah. It's new relationships that are really good. And by the way, a lot of relationships that start really good end too.
Yes.
So this doesn't even have that good start.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. I don't think it should be an investigative experience to date someone. It should be very obvious.
Honestly, that one went in such a different direction than I thought it was going to. Because really the email led with, he hates big tech and doesn't text me consistently. And I thought it was going to be like everything else is in place, but he has this...
He's a bad texter.
Yeah, he has this like moral objection to technology and therefore he doesn't have a phone.
No, he has an objection to communicating.
Because I thought that was going to be a totally different call if that was really the main issue.
No, he is not his feet are not fully planted in this.
We got, not because I don't want to vilify the guy.
No,
he's
not
new,
a bad guy.
He's 36. He's in between careers right now or jobs. He is newly moved from LA to New York City. Like this guy is like
he's a regular guy. Just a guy.
He's at an all-you-can-eat buffet right now.
Yes,
and he doesn't know where to sit at the table and what food to eat. Like he's totally. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I hate all-you-can-eat buffets.
Oh, they're always awful.
Worst. It could be the best food in the world, and it's actually just as bad because then you have all these choices, and you're like, I can't do this.
The worst are the ones where you have to eat a certain amount, like you have to eat a lot. Is that a thing?
Why do you have to eat a lot?
Am
Are they weighing your food? Where are you eating all you can eat buffets?
Oh, I think there's typically with sushi ones, they force you, and probably good because that way you don't waste food, but they force you like whatever you order, you have to eat, otherwise you're paying for it. So you don't waste it. That's actually probably a good thing.
Wait a minute.
There are a lot of sushi ones like that.
Well, what if you order it and
that's what the point is, that you shouldn't order more than you can eat because it's a waste of food. And it's like a high value food. Do I not know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, what kind of all you can eat are you going for?
That's a thing. That's
so in other words, you can't go to a sushi place and order 85,000 pieces of sushi.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a given. I think sushi has to be careful about how they dole out the all you can eat part of the all you can eat.
Yeah, there has to be this loophole where it's like you can't go crazy. You have to pay for that. Pay for what you don't finish so that you don't go nuts.
Right, because
isn't that funny that
the reason they have that is because all you can eat sushi is not laid out for health reasons, obviously, and for aesthetic reasons. Yeah. They have to serve it to you.
Yeah.
With an all you can eat buffet, they're just like, have at it. See what you can do.
Oh.
Do your worst. They don't care.
Okay.
No one's going to do that much damage. Although there are those stories of those guys who just camp out at the all you can eat buffet and go to town.
Yeah.
So guys are like 500-pound guys. Just like they have to eventually call the police. It's actually happened. I'm not kidding.
Is that for real?
It's happened multiple times. Guys literally will not leave the all-you-can-eat buffet. They've torn through like 40 pounds of food, and they're just like, we got to get this guy out of here. And they have to like call the authorities. They won't leave.
I find that fascinating, the idea of continuing. Like, look, I love eating. I love food. I love eating out. This is a big part of our relationship is food. Yeah. But the idea of just continuing to eat, like usually by the end of a meal at a restaurant, I'm like, I want to get out of here. Like, where's the check? I want to.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that if you need to call the police on somebody to leave an all-you-can-eat buffet, they have a problem that goes above and beyond their love of food.
Okay. They love value.
Yeah.
I respect that.
They're addicted to value.
Okay, I think when we go down the all-you-can-eat buffet rabbit hole, it's time to wrap.
It sure is.
If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram and
TikTok.
Leave us Apple and
Spotify
podcast ratings and reviews. Tell your friends. And generally do all of the things that you would do to support a podcast you enjoy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye. Dear Shandy.